What's the ceiling and floor? We're going to go ACC schools here in the state of North Carolina. What's the ceiling? What's the floor? All right, Victoria, I'll let you choose. We're just going to go at random here between Wake Forest, NC State, Duke, North Carolina. Pick a school.
Why not start with Wake Forest?
Let's go Wake Forest.
Yeah.
So one thing obviously you got to take into consideration with all these schools is what's their schedule. Not every ACC's schedule is the same.
No.
All right? You're just simply not playing the same teams. Now, Wake Forest does have on their ACC schedule, they have to play NC State, they have to play SMU, they got to play North Carolina, they got to play Duke. But early in the year, they play at home against Kennesaw State. That's a month from tomorrow. That's on Friday the 29th. And then they actually are at home against Western Carolina on September 6th. I mean, to me, both of those should be wins. Then later on in the season, just before Thanksgiving, they got to play home to Delaware. In my eyes, Delaware moving up from FCS to FBS. They're going into Conference USA. That, in my eyes, should be a win. Should be. Now, our good friend Tim Donnelly, host of The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan in Raleigh, would disagree. He's a Delaware graduate. But in my eyes, those are at least 3 wins. But if you look at the rest of their schedule and you say, okay, you got to go to Virginia. Virginia's not very good, but I guarantee Virginia is probably looking at Wake Forest and saying, hey, Wake Forest probably isn't very good. You got to go to Virginia Tech, which is also a possible win as well. I think the floor is 4 wins for Wake Forest. I think that's the floor. Because I think the games they definitely should win, Kennesaw State, Western Carolina, Delaware, should win those games, in my eyes. And then, again, taking one between Virginia Tech, they should win one of those as well. I think the ceiling is 6. That's where I think the ceiling is. I think ceiling is bowl game, 6-6. That's where I think this team finishes. And that floor, 4 wins, ceiling 6. I think that 4 to 6 range for Coach Dicker trying to come in after Dave Clawson and try and just rebuild this team. I could be surprised. Again, I could 100% be wrong. Feel free to keep receipts, especially Wake Forest fans, folks at Wake Forest. If I'm wrong, feel free to play this back and go, hey, Dennis, you're a stooge. I'm 100% okay with you throwing it back in my face. And I'll say, yeah, I was wrong. But I think 4 to 6. I might, from floor to ceiling, 4 to 6 for Wake Forest this year in terms of number of wins. Victoria, let's go to another ACC school. I'll let you pick one.
Okay, how about Duke?
Duke football. I'm very bullish on Duke. I really am. I'm very, very high on Duke football this year.
Diaz means business.
I just think that even despite winning 8-9 wins each of the last 3 years, Duke football, for some reason, still flying under the radar. Because, people are, Duke basketball. But Duke has games this year. They start off against Elon. Then they have a home game against Illinois right after that. The Elon game, by the way, 1 month from today. And then they got to go on the road to Tulane. Those are the first 3 games of the season. To me, that should be 3-0 in my eyes. Especially if you're going to go on the road to play Tulane and your starting quarterback is the former quarterback of Tulane, Darian Bensa, you better beat Tulane. But then you're home against NC State, which is rivalry game, and it's going to be super tough. But they got to go to Syracuse, to Cal, home against Virginia. They got to play UConn. They play Wake Forest. And they also got a home game against Georgia Tech, which is not going to be a pushover whatsoever. Not going to be a pushover whatsoever. But I look at this roster, I think the floor for Duke football this year is 8 wins. Absolutely the floor. Now you could Clemson, I think, on the road, I think you can comfortably say that's going to be a loss.
Yeah, that'll be really tough to win for sure.
And Georgia Tech at home is not going to be an easy one. You also factor in there's the NC State rivalry game and the UNC rivalry game. Like, those are the games I would sit there and say, if you want to tell me justifiably those are losses, I wouldn't dispute it. All right? But I think the ceiling, honestly, for this team, again, regular season, not factoring in bowl games, the ceiling's 11. In my eyes, you can sit there and look at Duke football and say the only game that they probably should lose this season is Clemson. Home against Wake Forest should be a win. At Carolina definitely can be a win. Again, Georgia Tech at home is going to be tough, but they can win that game. NC State at home, again, rivalry game, not going to be an easy game, but you can easily say Duke should win that game for sure. So the floor for me for Duke this year is 8 wins, regular season, ceiling regular season, 11. And if they go 11-1, I mean, you're pushing for a spot at the ACC championship game.
Absolutely.
For real. I'm very high on Duke football this year. I really am.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I will be one of the few media members that actually is going to sit there and say, yeah, Duke football could be really good this year. You didn't win 9 games last year on accident. All right, what's the next one? So we've done Wake Forest. We've done Duke.
Yep.
What's the next one here?
Let's go with NC State.
All right, NC State football this year. Now, NC State does have a couple of, I'll say, easy games. Non-conference game at home against Virginia, which is weird to say, but it is a non-conference game. They got to go to Notre Dame, which is not going to be easy at all. Their schedule isn't the toughest in the world. It really isn't. They should beat Virginia at home. They have East Carolina at home. Here's the thing. Again, NC State cannot afford a loss to East Carolina to start the season.
No.
They simply cannot.
No.
Not after how that bowl game went last year. You cannot do it. But I don't know what to expect of Florida State this year. They have Florida State at home late in the year. I don't know what to think of Florida State.
After last season?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I honestly, depending on how this season really goes for Florida State, it might be that, hey, you know what, that run, where Jordan Travis got hurt and you should have been in the college football playoff, but you got screwed over. That year actually is looking more and more like the anomaly, like the outsider, the way things have been going recently with Florida State. But Miami on the road is not going to be easy at all. I mean, Pitt on the road won't be easy. Georgia Tech at home won't be easy. Notre Dame, I think honestly, much like Duke going to Clemson, I think you can just go ahead and chalk that up as a loss right there. I look at NC State this season, and I think the floor for them, and I'm sure I'm going to hear it from State fans for saying this, I think the floor for them is 6.
Okay.
I think that's the floor.
Yeah.
I think the floor is 6 wins for NC State. Because, I think they should beat Virginia. They should beat, obviously they have Campbell on their schedule. That's 100% should be a win. I think they should beat Wake Forest, but it's also NC State going on the road to Wake Forest, which is not a good history of NC State going on the road to Wake Forest. But they should. I think they should beat East Carolina. Pitt should be a win. Virginia Tech should be a win. I think that's 6 right there.
Yeah.
That's the floor.
I do think, so this is a question out of those should games. Every season, NC State has a game that they should win, and they don't. So out of those, which one do you predict and think is going to be the game you should win, but they didn't?
I think it comes down to 2. I think it comes down to either at home against East Carolina to start the year or on the road at Wake.
I know. I'm feeling Wake.
It really
the history with Wake Forest and NC State, especially in the 3-3-6, if I had to guess, I would say
and that game is on a Thursday night as well, by the way. So it's a short week for both teams, and it's not far travel. It's not a far drive from Raleigh out to Winston-Salem. It's
2
really
hours.
not. It's a good pit stop if you're going on the way out to Asheville or something like that. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that this team goes 6-6. That's why I say that's the floor. If I look the ceiling for NC State, it's 9. It's just 9. They have not been able to break that 10-win seal in a season with Dave Doran yet. They just haven't. So that's why I'm put the ceiling at 9. So 6-9. That's my floor. That's my ceiling for NC State. All right, so we did Wake Forest. I said the floor 4 wins, the ceiling 6. We said Duke. I think the floor is 8 wins. The ceiling is 11 for them. Again, everything has to go right. You never know if an injury is going to happen. It's sports. You just don't know. And then for NC State, floor 6 wins, ceiling 9 wins, which leaves us to
the big mystery,
the big time mystery, UNC football. I really don't know what to make of this season.
Now,
I think they should obviously beat Richmond, Richmond's an FCS school. You should beat Richmond at home, but you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Charlotte gave them a game last year. It's hard to also factor in things off last year because you have over 70 new guys on your roster. It's a new coaching staff. You don't know how things are going to gel. Now, I think it's beneficial for early on in the season for Bill Belichick and that team. Yes, you have that tough Monday night home game on Labor Day taking on TCU. It's not going to be an easy out. But then playing Charlotte, playing Richmond your next 2 games will help you figure things out. So I think in my eyes, they should at minimum start 2-1 on the season the first 3 games. Stanford at home, Virginia at home, Cal on the road. In my mind, those are all wins. Those should 100% be wins. Now, they're home against Clemson. Good luck. Again, I'm chalking up everyone that's played Clemson on the schedules that we looked at, Victoria, and I'm like, loss. Just go ahead and writing that in. Wake Forest, again, that's a program that's rebuilding in and of itself as well. That should be a win. So to me, I think the floor for UNC football this year is 7. Should be 7.
Which I don't think is terrible, with a new everything, coach, guys, like, that would be still a successful season.
So, yeah, 100%. I would say, again, a team that went 6-6 last year, I don't know. There's a separate conversation we would probably have tomorrow if they're get to the floor of 7-5.
Right.
How happy are you going to be? Like, well, we just went 6-6 with Mac Brown last year. We spent all this money and got all this hoopla to bring in Bill Belichick and all these, and you only got 1 win better. We can have that conversation tomorrow.
It's at least in the right direction. It's the same thing with the Carolina Panthers. Like, you can't think we're going to go to the Super Bowl this season. You should take the, if we get a couple more wins from last season, that's a success.
So, yeah, I think 7.
Yeah.
But I could be talked into, like, okay, well, you're on the road to Central Florida. Rivalry games late in the season with at home against Duke, on the road at NC State. Again, rivalry games late in the season. I think by that time, Bill Belichick would have figured things out. At least that team will kind of have figured things out. Now, it could have been a mess early on in the year, and they never were able to right the ship. But I think this is an opportunity for late in the season that they could pull off wins potentially in that regard. That's why I think the ceiling for North Carolina this year is 9. I think that's their ceiling this year because I just don't know how quickly things are going to be able to get put together. Now, if you want to tell me 10, sure, I could buy that. But to me, Clemson, Duke, those in my mind should be losses in my eyes. And then probably another loss guaranteed in there at some point. Just because, again, they're got to figure this stuff out. So 7 floor in terms of wins for North Carolina, 9 for North Carolina.